You're listening to That's Life here at the NACHUM SEGAL Network. And last Sunday, just a couple of days ago, was World Mental Health Day. So we are taking the time to bring awareness to mental health and remind people that mental health is as important as your physical health. I wrote that in my notes before picking today's fortune cookie. But I'm thrilled to welcome my guest, Avi Ben Mordechai. He is a licensed psychotherapist who specializes in trauma, stress, and anxiety. And his angle today on mental health is all about pet therapy. You can find information about Avi's practice at center1therapy.com. Avi, good morning, and thanks for joining me.
Good morning. I am so happy to be here with you today. Thanks for having me on.
No, not at all. I appreciate it very much, and your timing couldn't be better, not only because my fortune cookie is so poignant, but also because I mentioned that Mental Health Awareness Day was on Sunday. But you obviously bring a totally different angle to mental health to the table because you are coming with some fine furry friends. Tell me about how you got started in pet therapy.
Okay, so this story goes back way back when I was a little kid growing up in Queens, New York. I loved all animals. And back then, kids didn't really grow up with cell phones and iPads and all these electronics. So we were outside most of the day. And anytime I would see a dog, or I would come up to it and play with it. And I always wanted to be a veterinarian. And growing up, and even in my my high school yearbook and my elementary school yearbook, it says he will be a veterinarian. But when I grew up, I noticed that vets, if we really think about it, we think they play with puppies and kittens all day. But actually, they take care of sick animals, and that's not really something that I felt like I had the heart to do, and I couldn't do it. So when I went to school, when I went to LIU for my master's in social work, I said, and I got married, and I said, you know what? I think it's time. Growing up, I always asked my mom, "Let's get a dog. Let's get a dog," and she's like, "Absolutely not. We're not getting a dog. I just can't take care of it, and it's too much. You're not getting a dog." So when I got married, I told my wife, I said, "Hey, we're gonna get a dog." And guess what happened? My wife said, "Absolutely not. We can't get a dog. I'm petrified of dogs." And I said, I'm getting, this is what's going to happen here. So we did some exposure therapy, and we ended up getting, it's a whole story on its own, but we ended up getting a golden retriever puppy, the most beautiful, friendly golden retriever puppy. And I was in my year of internship, so I was still kind of practicing to learn how to be a therapist. And I was working with a boy who was 7 years old, and I asked Mom, I said, "Hey, I just got this puppy, and I think it's a great way to kind of implement it into the session." The puppy didn't have any type of formal training yet, but I said, would he like to just, say hi to the puppy and see the puppy for a few minutes, not an actual, like a typical pet therapy session. And she said, "Yeah, sure, he loves dogs. That would be great." And when he met the dog, that was kind of the beginning of where we're at. That was the beginning of this journey.
Wow.
And it had such an impact on him. And I said, you know what, let me kind of take it to another client that I'm working with. And they loved it. And slowly, it just kind of took off on its own. And then I said, let's get a bunny, and then let's get a bird and a parrot. And we slowly started to get these different types of animals. And we saw how they were able to connect to people in such a special way, in a way where I wasn't able to connect with a person from the beginning. Because when we think about therapy, a lot of the times it can be a very scary concept,
right.
Especially with children and with teenagers. It's almost like, wait, but nothing's wrong with me. I'm not crazy. Why do I have to go to a therapist? And it's there's this stigma around it that if you go to therapy, you're broken. And when people come into the office, a lot of the times they feel very guarded, and they feel scared to share. So obviously, with a lot of trial and error and trying different things, we were able to create a way where children and teenagers and even adults who have many different life challenges are able to come into an office and feel in a very non-threatening, non-judgmental type of space, are able to play with the animals, are able to interact with them. And kind of like the number one rule of therapy is when a client comes into your office, you want to establish rapport. You want to make a connection with them. You kind of want to meet them where they're at. And sometimes having an animal there, it kind of takes the pressure away from asking them, okay, now, open up and tell me all your vulnerabilities.
Wow.
It's a very this past week and last week I worked with teenagers, and they come into the office and very guarded and scared, like, what is he going to ask me? Am I going to have to share my whole life with him now? Am I going to have to talk to him about all my insecurities? And when you see that facial expression, you say, hey, how about we kind of put all of this on pause for now? You want to just see the pets? You want to play with the pets? And they're like, yeah, for sure. And for the bulk of the session, we talk about the animals and where they come from and what type of life lessons we can learn from them, because every single animal has a life lesson that we can learn. And I currently have 3 golden retrievers. It's interesting. It's an interesting story. 2 years ago, our golden retriever, Sophie, had 10 puppies. And that was an amazing experience on its own. We actually went to nursing homes and we went to adult daycare centers with these puppies. They were 4 weeks old. So we started to condition them to become very friendly and be comfortable with loud noises and different people and being handled. So this way, by the time they went home, they were completely socialized. Some of the puppies actually went to different nursing homes. They have their own handler where they're able to work with the residents as well.
Oh, my gosh. 1 second, Avi, I have 1.5 million questions. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I got to ask you 400 questions.
Go ahead.
I am fascinated, absolutely fascinated. By the way, you can check out Avi and his practice at center1therapy.com. You can email him center1therapy@gmail.com. And if you look at his homepage, you will see the menagerie of, or I should say the small zoo that Avi has. Just in this picture alone, 3 golden retrievers, a bunny, a bird. First of all, I can't figure out how you married somebody who was afraid of dogs and didn't know about that beforehand. But we can discuss that another time. We can totally discuss that another time. When you have a client, I guess my first question is, when you have a client who comes into your office, are all of the pets in the office, or are you meeting the pets in the, let's say, the waiting room and then deciding together which pet will join you in for the session?
So that's a great question. When the clients come into the room, we don't have any pets in the office. And the reason for that is a lot of my clients come in for exposure therapy. There's a huge number of people who are petrified of dogs and also other animals. I have people telling me I can never go to the beach because I'm afraid of the birds. I can never go into my friend's house. I'm petrified to go to my friend's house because they have a dog, or they live in a building and they live on the 5th floor and there's an elevator and I can't take the elevator and because I'm afraid the dog will come in, or so many different scenarios. I had mothers telling me I left my carriage in the middle of Borough Park because somebody was walking with the dog and she got so afraid. She left her carriage in the middle of the sidewalk and just ran. And we questioned ourselves, like, wait, how is a mother able to do something like this? It's because your subconscious mind is telling you, run. It's a defense mechanism. It says fight or flight and go, go, go. We can't even consciously think about, like, what are we doing here? What's going on here?
Yeah, well, I imagine that excuse is not going to work with DCFS when somebody finds out that there's an abandoned baby carriage in the middle of Borough Park.
Right. Well, obviously, they come back.
Of course. Thank God.
And go get it. But so this is another big thing. We definitely don't want to kind of overstimulate or flood anybody with so much stimulation. So we kind of want to take it one moment at a time. And then when they come in, for the first session, like when working with kids and when I'm at a stage where I want to establish rapport, I'll bring one animal at a time and we'll talk about that animal. Like, for example, a tarantula. You would think, like, why the heck do you have a tarantula?
Yeah, there's got to be a good reason, Avi. There's got to be a good reason for that one.
Right. Now, how can the tarantula be therapeutic? Well, first of all, arachnophobia, which is the fear of spiders, is one of the most biggest fears in the world. I think it's like the top 3.
Right, but let
So
me ask you something. I understand somebody needing to get over their fear of dogs. I do, because dogs are
yeah.
prevalent in our society. Are there more tarantulas out there that I don't appreciate that someone needs to see you to get over their fear of tarantulas?
So the reason why I have a tarantula is that the specific one I have is very docile, very friendly, and easy to be handled. So that's a great way to expose somebody to like different types of insects. So this way, when they see a fly, a mosquito, any type of bug, they don't panic.
Got it.
So, and happens to be, you'll be surprised, but we have a snake also. We have a banana ball python, and the snake and the tarantula, I would say, are the top requested pet with the kids and the teens. Like it's very out of the box, and they love it the most. And I use that as a tool to be able to connect with them, especially when they look at their parents' face and they see that reaction when the parents are like, "What are you doing?" And they're like, "Yes, I love it." That whole dynamic is able to build a relationship between me and the client, and this is what I want to be able to do.
Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Now, I have to imagine, because I don't want people to get the feeling that all of the therapy sessions that you conduct have to do with people getting over specific fears of specific animals. This is
Right.
really to build rapport. It's really
Yeah.
an incredibly effective icebreaker.
Yes, exactly. Bingo. So it's interesting you mentioned that because a lot of times people will say, "Oh, so you're the guy you're the animal whisperer, right? You're the guy with the animals." And I'm like, "No, no, no. One second. I'm a therapist, and I use animals as a tool to be able to work with people." Now, there are other people who don't have a fear or phobia, or maybe not like animals, and we work on other goals with them. And we have various different tools in my toolbox that we use. We have different games. We have different methods that we use to be able to connect with people. So it's all about kind of finding the right click, finding the key that fits the person's heart. That's really what it's about.
And Avi, if somebody comes to you and doesn't want to play with the pets,
Yeah.
I mean, that's still an option for a client.
Sure. Yeah, of course, definitely, absolutely. It's definitely an interesting concept, working with animals and understanding how animals can help humans heal. But yeah, there are people also who have a lot of stuff going on in their life, and they say, "You know what, I want to just focus on what's going on with me, and I'm ready to share, and I'm ready to start this journey." Then yeah, we don't have to include the pets in it. Yeah.
Unbelievable. You're listening to That's Life here at the NACHUM SEGAL Network. I'm joined by Avi Ben Mordechai. He's a licensed psychotherapist who specializes in trauma, stress, and anxiety. He's received his MSW from LIU, Long Island University, and his bachelor's from Touro. Prior to opening his practice, Avi worked with children, adults, couples, families, seniors, and groups from various backgrounds with various life challenges. Avi implements cognitive behavioral therapy, dialectical behavioral therapy, sand therapy, play therapy, and pet therapy in helping clients deal with identity crisis, fears, phobias, anxieties, and depression. Tell me for a moment, have you ever found with a client that it's backfired, that you've started and you think that it's working with the ice breaking or the building the rapport through the pet, and all of a sudden you're seeing you've hit a wall?
Yes, actually, I can share. I've been very successful with helping a person overcome, like specifically overcoming their fear of dogs. And for some reason, with one person, we were doing everything like we did before, and we were following all the steps. And for some reason, it was just not clicking. And I think it was like the fifth or sixth session. And usually by that time, the person is able to overcome their fear like significantly. And all of a sudden, the person breaks down, and I said, "Okay, but like, what's going on internally?" And the person says, "I don't even know why I'm doing this. I don't even know if I want this."
Oh.
And that was a huge, huge statement, because in order for the behavior to change, it has to come from the person. It can't come from your spouse. It can come from you because your child wants a dog and you feel bad and you want to get a dog. It really has to come from an authentic place from you saying, "I'm done feeling like a dog in the environment is controlling me. I want to be able to take back control. And a lot of the times and as soon as there was that switch, that when it was like an aha moment, almost like, and I said, wow, so if this is not really authentically coming from you, that you want to change, then there's nothing we can do. There's a saying, you can bring the horse to the water, but you can't make it drink.
Sure.
As soon as we kind of put that out there, there was a switch. And I said, when you make the decision that you're ready to make change, that's when we're going to continue working. And I said, so we're not scheduling for next week. You let me know during this week if you want to come back, and we're going to work it out. They messaged, we're ready, we're coming back. They came back. Within that one session, we were able to achieve what we couldn't achieve in the past 5 sessions.
Wow.
Because it's the drive that they had inside, knowing that this is what I want.
Amazing.
So a lot of times when parents kind of tell their kids, you need to go to therapy, you must go to therapy, if the child doesn't want to, again, unless somebody's mandated and all of that, that's a different discussion. But therapy, in order for the therapeutic process to work, the client also needs to want to be able to create change.
Wow, absolutely. Change has to come from within, that's for sure. All right, Avi, we have just a few moments left. I need to know, what animal is going too far? What animal are you not interested in bringing in the office? I mean, I made the joke about lions and tigers and bears. Fine.
Yeah.
Those are all off the table, correct?
Well, I mean, for now, we're definitely working on a big project that is going to definitely shock the frum community. It's coming up very soon, hopefully, if all things go smoothly. But it's certain animals that I want to bring on the team, we definitely need to get licensing and different permits. So we're working on it. But there's nothing off limits. Pet therapy is incredible, and everyone connects to an animal a different way. So we want to be able to accommodate any way we can.
That is fascinating. Have you done therapy or like with aquatic animals?
So I did look into it. I actually recently was in Mexico and had the golden opportunity to be able to swim with dolphins.
Right.
And for that 1 hour, any type of worry, any type of stressor completely left my mind. And just interacting with an animal like that is something so special. But unfortunately, here in New York, it's almost impossible to be able to do something like that.
Right, and probably illegal. I don't know.
Right, exactly. Coming from the legality perspective, it's almost impossible. Yeah.
This whole thing is unbelievably fascinating. I also just want to mention, within 30 seconds or less, that you also do sand therapy. And I think that's important to mention, even just for 30 seconds, because, again, that tactile interaction with something has got to be very soothing. So just explain quickly, because we're so out of time.
I'll do it really quick. So,
thanks.
Sand therapy is a very interesting way of being able to create kind of like a 3D image of what's going on subconsciously in your mind. A lot of times you have cases where children or even adults are not able to express themselves the way they want with talking or even on paper. So when you give them the sand tray with a bunch of different type of characters and miniatures, and you say, hey, create a picture for me. It's describing how you're feeling inside. And they create a whole image, and you don't really talk much as they create it. And then after they're done, you say, okay, you're done. You're ready to talk to me about it? And they say, sure. And they now start to explain every component of the sand tray. And you're able to see the picture from a completely different way, and you're able to connect to them and understand their story. Like, for example, working with kids and seeing a classroom dynamic where the child is sitting and what their connections are to other students and what kind of animal. Sometimes you'll have somebody that they don't like and they'll choose a specific animal, like, a rat or an octopus or a spider, and you'll say, oh, I noticed you used, this specific animal. Tell me more about, this character. And say, oh, that was my teacher in second grade or something. And then you try to, explore that further, like why they chose that specific animal. What characteristics have they found in common? So it's such a fascinating way to connect to people.
That is incredible. Absolutely incredible. And again, this is something unique to our Frum community, to the Orthodox community, that is for sure. CenterOneTherapy.com. Avi Ben Mordechai, thank you so much for joining me.
My pleasure.
I truly appreciate it. Continued Hatzlacha. I think this is great. I really do think this is great, and I'm happy to come and have a play date with any of the golden retrievers at any time.
We should come down to the NACHUM SEGAL station and let you guys have all the animals there.
Yeah, I think people here might have a heart attack, and that would probably undo all the good. But I'm happy to come play with the dogs anytime.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Avi.
You're always welcome.
Thanks
My
so
pleasure.
much.
Take care. All the best.
All